Welcome back, everybody. So here we are with the bonus issue or the bonus part of issue 16, where we talk about what's in the magazine. So first of all, I just wanted to kind of pointing at the camera here. Um, so the camera mount that I have or the phone mount that I have, it's not the most high quality thing, um, but it works. The thing is that it was never designed to hold your camera like it grips it like this. Right? It grips it like this, and your camera hangs down. It was never really designed to do that. So over the last however many videos I've recorded with it, the phone is trying to slide down. So the last video or two, you notice that you're looking up here um, instead of like down here. So I think there was a few spots where my hands weren't even in view, or barely in view, maybe. So I had to take a alligator clip and clip it up there to hold it in place, and so I've got it figured out. I may have to get another mount. So just thought I'd throw that out there for everybody. I know that you don't really care, but I thought somebody might find it interesting. Maybe you were wondering what was happening with the camera. You saw it just kind of slowly dip down. So anyway, let's get into this issue here. And again, like I said, it's the issue 16. We'll be able to get this thing finished off. So, um, in my quick run through, we're going to talk about the YT1760. It's the small transport. So this is actually slightly smaller than the YT1300. Um, uh, so not even its makers could claim that the YT1300 was perfect. But if the options were suitably configured, most customers found that the stock light freighter met their needs more than adequately. So there was a few dissatisfied buyers, and they wanted something that was more maneuverable and faster and that kind of stuff. So the CEC went back and they said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. So what they did was they made a slightly smaller ship, and you'll notice that they put the cockpit right in the middle. So um, kind of even things out, made it a little bit easier to fly, and actually put slightly bigger engines in it. So it was faster than a stock YT1300. So let's just kind of go through some of the information here. So its maximum speed was 990 kilometers per hour in atmosphere, which I believe was like 750 or 800, something like that, for the YT1300. It had a Class 1 hyperdrive, whereas the YT1300 had a Class 2. Its backup was a Class 15. Shields were non-standard. Most ships were added as an upgrade. Its armament was the single laser cannon. You could also increase it to two turrets on most ships. Crew was two, a minimum of one. You could have 8 passengers, and it would only carry 10 tons. That was one of the things with this that ended up a lot of people did not like. So let's go through some of this. The modular construction, so it carried over from the YT1300. 1760 is a classic example of CEC's combining modules from other ships in the YT series. The semicircular front of the hull and the central gun turret are clearly common to the rest of the series, while the cockpit is a YT1300 module adapted to a central fitting. Instead of having port and starboard docking tubes, a single tube is fitted centrally at the rear, between two large cut-down tubular thrusters and two small ones. Other fittings, such as the 4 heat vents, are also common in other YT series, so these are the heat vents. So that's pretty cool. So disappointing performance. So had nothing to do with the speed and maneuverability; those were actually there. But um, promoted as a general purpose short haul transport and shuttle vessel, It should have been a winner, plugging a gap in the company's existing line. Unfortunately, the YT-1760 proved to be a disappointment both in terms of performance and sales figures. The new model did succeed in improving the older model's speed, but it had done so by cutting the cargo capacity to the fraction of what the YT-1300 could do. So it could only do 10 tons. While it was true that it also had room for 8 passengers, the personal transport version of the YT-1300, so the P series, could carry 25 tons of payload, and that's for the passenger version of the YT-1300. Could carry 15 tons more and 15 customers. So quite the difference there. So not only that, but the 1760 stock passenger accommodations was rather Spartan. Operators who wanted to charge top fees generally needed to fit more comfortable staterooms. While this was an easy modular upgrade, it came at a price, and the 1760 already cost 4/5 as much as the YT-1300P. Other disappointments was the reliability. The upgrades had made the ship far less durable than their predecessors, and maintenance costs were much higher. Many YT-1760s were scrapped before their time because they were costing their operators too much to run. So it did become kind of a thing for pirates and smugglers. That's kind of the way that it goes. Um, and Lalo Gunn, and this was actually from a game or something, if I remember right. So she ended up kind of joining in with what was known as the Breakout Squad during the Clone Wars. So during the Clone Wars, smuggler Lalo Gunn's YT-1760, the Hasty Harpy, was grounded when the Trade Federation clamped a ban on flights from the isolated wild space planet Kanachi. Stuck on this remote world, Gunn threw her lot in with an informal clone trooper unit known as the Breakout Squad, which raided the Trade Federation's Kanachi Tech factory prison and then led an escape from the planet. Gunn volunteered to take Breakout Squad to Coruscant, but it was forced to flee the Techno Union attack en route. Although the Hasty Harpy escaped on that occasion, Gunn was persuaded to divert to Vasad on another mission for Breakout Squad. Unfortunately, the YT-1760 was brought down by an assassin's missile, stranding the smuggler on the planet. So the game invention. 1760 and a host of other new ships built by the Carillion Engineering Corporation first appeared in 2001 in 2 issues of the Star Wars Gamer magazine. It was part of the feature A Legacy of Starships by Owen C. Stevens, where it was illustrated by Jeffrey Carlisle. A story of the Hasty Harpy and her exploits appeared almost a decade later in Ryder Wyndham's Star Wars: The Clone Wars Secret Missions Young Readers Book series. So I don't know if it was actually in a game or if it was just a story that they put in there. I'm not sure, but so that's kind of where this specific story kind of came from, which unfortunately falls into the Legends arena, but still kind of an interesting thing. So here we're going to talk about the Ice Fields of Hoth. So I can't remember if we already talked about Hoth or not. I think we did, because we're not getting all of the normal kind of info about Hoth, but this is specifically about you know how cold it is and all that kind of stuff. So this kind of goes through and talks about the fact that it was a blue-white star in the Hoth system. But the reason why Hoth was, which apparently a blue-white star is like one of the hotter types of stars, the second hottest class of all stars. Um, so the inner planets in that system are completely uninhabitable because of the fact that they're so close. Like basically, they're just molten lava and all that kind of stuff. But Hoth, unfortunately, is way too far away, and so that's what makes it so cold. So even though it's near a very hot star, it's still extremely cold there. So um, so plus it has an elliptical orbit, so it takes 526 standard days or 449 local days, and their local days are only 23 hours. It has a long rotation around the sun. Um, so uh, it can Hoth's daytime temperatures can climb as high as negative 32 Celsius, which is getting close. If I remember right, negative 32 Celsius, you're pushing like um, mid negative 30 Fahrenheit, somewhere around there. I think negative 40 Celsius is equivalent to negative 40 Fahrenheit. I don't quite remember, but I think that's pretty close. So regardless, that's freaking cold, and that's when it's hot out. So yeah, it's got a lot of issues when when it comes to cold. There's a lot of mountains and stuff like that, and it does have volcanoes and stuff, but nothing that really makes it even more inhabitable. So cold weather gear. The rebel Hoth troopers practiced cold weather survival techniques, as well as trench warfare, a tactic that helped to shield them from the planet's bitterly cold winds as well as enemy fire. But specialized clothing and equipment was essential for protection against the planet's harsh climate. Their headgear consisted of a special insulated hood and face mask, plus shaded goggles to prevent snow blindness. Body protection consisted of padded leggings and a padded long-sleeved tunic with thermal body warmer jerkin on top, and a scarf sealing any gaps at the neck. On top of the jerkin went a utility belt holding survival gear or a holster for a Blastech DH-17, which is not the same as Hans. It's like a DL8 or something. Somebody in the comments let me know. I'm sure that we'll go through it. I think it's a DL series. Anyway, blaster pistol and spare charge packs for the blaster rifle. Insulated gloves and boots completed the clothing with a heavy-duty comlink and cold weather survival backpack as additional equipment. The backpack contained a small emergency heater and temporary shelter. So yeah, they definitely had to outfit themselves pretty well. So the snow speeders, this I thought this was rather interesting. So rebel technicians on Hoth modified the Alliance's T-47 air speeders into patrol and combat craft suitable for use in extreme cold, dubbing the result snow speeders. The rebels had used T-47 for reconnaissance on warmer planets, but when they moved to Hoth, their stock vehicles required modifying to function efficiently in the extreme cold weather. Upgrades included adding heaters to the drive units, plus de-icing nozzles to keep the control surfaces clear. They also upgraded the cockpit modules and added armor to compensate for the lack of shields, before fitting the craft with laser cannons and harpoon guns. So yeah, they those were actually just normal land speeders, but they converted them to be snow speeders, which is kind of cool. So let's do a little behind the scenes stuff here. So describing the experience of filming in the real world location of Fence in Norway, associate producer Robert Watts said, "The clear weather, the glacier provides the uninterrupted treeless expanse we need for hot scenes. However, a film location must also offer two other essentials: accommodation for the crew and a link with transportation to get people and equipment in and out. Otherwise, filming at the North Pole would be feasible." Even so, the weather was against the film crew, who had to endure the worst winter storm in 50 years. With chilling winds, temperatures dropped close to negative 30 degrees Celsius, and more than 5 meters of snow fell. Uh, on one occasion, when conditions were too bad for the crew to work, they achieved a shot showing Luke leaving the Wampa Cave by opening the hotel's doors and filming Mark Hamill running out into the snow while the crew sheltered inside. So I'd heard about that, where basically the crew was inside and they just filmed him running out, and that was him leaving the Wampa Cave. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, it's Hoth is definitely, a good spot for the rebels to go because it's not very habitable, but you can survive there. You just have to be prepared for it. So makes sense that they went there. So now we're going to look at another episode or part of the Secrets of Space Flight. I don't know how this falls into Secrets of Space Flight, but um, so this is what the standard YT 1300 would look like. So you can see here that you have your corridor, and this is the corridor that we started working on in this issue, and then that breaks off into the passage tube for the cockpit, and then here is the main cargo hold or what have you. So this would be the DeAgostini table and that kind of stuff. But you can see that there's a tube that comes off over here. Well, that and there's a sleeping alcove and everything like that. Well, and of course, there's also this galley, and this stuff does not exist in the Millennium Falcon. So let's have a look and see how different the Millennium Falcon is. So you can see here that here's our tube, and this is what we're working on this issue. And over here we have the secondary ring corridor. So they moved instead of having the ring corridor here, they moved it over here, and then this becomes a new walkway. So you come over there, you have to kind of zigzag back around. This would be the little electrical alcove that Hanalea kissed in, and you can't see what's back behind here, which they don't really show how that works, but we do know from the pictures that there was a hole back in here. And there was one other picture I wanted to show, and it was kind of like a behind the scenes. It showed um, George Lucas talking with Kirshner, the director, and it was really lit up, so you could see really well, and you could see that hole there. And I wish I could have found that in a size that I could have shared with you guys so you could see that. But that hole that I put in there was definitely in Empire Strikes Back. They're just not showing it here. But so yeah, that's why you have the two corridor holes for the passages. So this kind of just helps demonstrate just how much the Millennium Falcon has been modified. So pretty cool. So here we have under some more behind the scenes. So the design evolution. So George Lucas's last minute decision to change the shape of the Falcon meant that its internal layout had to be developed very quickly. With no firm funding to make any movies beyond Episode 4, the designs initially only had to satisfy the setups that were planned for the storyboards of A New Hope. And some of the early concept sketches show how radically the team had to adjust their ideas. It was only later, after Star Wars proved hugely successful, that the interior of the Falcon came under intensive scrutiny, and the long process of giving it a believable layout and detailed backstory began, ultimately taking over 30 years to settle on the accepted floor plan. So here you can see this is they actually had talks about the pair of drawings. The concept for Joe Johnston shows how the scale of the Falcon evolved in the first version, which is this one here, which is marked obsolete. The passage tube appears to be over 2.5 meters in diameter with a corresponding large cockpit. So you can see just how much taller and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this is what they ended up settling on, and it's what was it 1.8 meters, so just 6 feet tall, so significantly smaller. Now that was for A New Hope. In Empire, Kirshner wanted to have the cockpit be a bit taller, so even though it wasn't um, consistent with what was in A New Hope, he made it be a bit taller. He wanted to have more room in the cockpit. So Empire, the cockpit actually was bigger than A New Hope, but that's just in the movies. Canonically, of course, the cockpit never changed, but that's what actually happened. Corridor designs. So more behind the scenes. The fact that the sets from A New Hope would not really fit comfortably inside the outer shell of the Falcon caused the production team some headaches, especially over the layout of the corridors. See Set designer John Barry explained that the shape of the corridor was a way to resolve questions about the structure of the Falcon. The interior of the pirate ship had to appear to fit the exterior, so it had to have an apparently curved design. A circular corridor. Panels also had to be removable, so special effects expert John Steers could operate the remote for the scene where Luke practices with a lightsaber, so that the crew could get the lights into the areas. Some of the design was still unresolved by the time the second and third movies were made, as these had to show some areas not previously featured. So I don't really remember them showing anything in Return of the Jedi inside the Falcon that wasn't in any of the others. Maybe in a deleted scene or something like that, but theatrically and even I think in the special editions, I don't remember any other interior scenes other than the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. I'd have to go back and look at some of the deleted scenes and see what's in there. I know, actually, I do know there were some deleted scenes showing some of the other rebels that were on the Millennium Falcon while they were doing their thing, going through the corridors and stuff. But nothing that really jumps out at me as far as anything that's terribly significant. So, and of course, in those they did have somebody sitting in the gun turrets and the deleted scenes as well. So there we go. That is issue 16. Next time we're going to be going into issue 17, and you can see here we have, I don't know if that's an upper or lower part of the corridor, it might be an upper part. We have some more framework, we have some more body panels, and we have some of the padding that goes on these corridor walls. So that should be interesting. So hope you guys are enjoying this, and leave some comments in there. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next one. May the force be with you, always.